GC Studio. What's up, everybody?
And when did you actually get into 40K? Because you got like Tau models. I remember years before we ever actually started playing.
So I first got into 40K back in it would have been I was in either late middle school or early high school. So gosh, that would have been like 2014, 2015. I somehow managed to come across like some battle reports or something on YouTube, or
Sure.
like the official Games Workshop like tutorial for
Yeah.
6th edition.
Six. Okay.
And I'm like, okay, this looks cool. I forget what brought me to that. It may have been like rabbit hole type thing. I'm like, oh
Sure.
wow, this is really cool. Started listening to some of the lore. I had recently gotten into anime in general, thanks to you, Fullmetal Alchemist,
There we go.
and had really gotten into Gundam and other mech shows. And I'm looking through all of the factions, like, wow, these Space Marines are like so cool. This is like really neat. And then I see a picture of a Riptide battle suit, and I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, this is it.
Fair enough.
I went down to my local game store. I used my birthday money to pick up the Start Collecting Tau box, which I'm sad they don't make those anymore. They were very good deals.
They were.
Uh, yeah, I went home. I built them pretty badly, painted them horribly, and then found that no one actually wanted to play Warhammer. And they sat in a box for years.
Fair enough. Do you still have those Tau?
Yes, the box is right over there on the
Very cool.
desk.
Awesome.
I
I know that you were talking about being interested in, what was it? Oh, I'm blanking on the name now. The dwarves, space dwarves.
Oh, Votan.
Votan.
Yeah.
Are you still interested in them, or are you thinking about getting into Tau again, or?
So at the current point, I'm not starting any new 40K armies.
Sure.
Just because, again, I don't really even have the time to play with the stuff I have right
Sure.
now. I need to finish my actual paint projects.
Yeah.
I don't have the storage space, and really what I have now is I'm focusing on my BattleTech minis.
Sure.
Just because Alpha Strike is super easy to learn and play.
There you go.
I'm actually running on my Friday game night, I am running an Alpha Strike campaign, like a narrative campaign that's co-op. So,
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, enjoying that.
Well, so with the likelihood of 11th edition coming around the corner, and you having been through, at least kind of read through a couple editions, me only really, I mean, I've gone back. Okay, the dog's barking. I've gone back and read some of the rules for previous editions, but really 9th and 10th have been my wheelhouse. So I figure 9th to 10th was a big set of rule changes, like a complete board wipe, pretty much.
Just like 7th to 8th.
Yeah. 10th to 11th, maybe it'll be a big board wipe. Maybe it'll just kind of be clarifying things. But I thought it'd be interesting to kind of go through. We'll start with just kind of core mechanics. If you had to pick one or two core mechanics across the game that affects every faction, that affects the whole gameplay, that you either would want to see changed, added, or removed into 11th edition, what would you?
Okay,
have
two things. The first one would be add in psychic powers again in some way, and this is coming from the man who has never once played or collected a single psychic army. Tau, Necrons, and Admech. I just hate to see.
You hate to see it.
Grey Knights just suffering. I would say I hate to see Thousand Suns suffering, but they've been busted for most of the editions.
Well, that's the thing. It's interesting because they tried to fix it they tried to alter it by making psychic a keyword that would be added on to weapons and certain attacks, but and I guess it just it in so many cases made it feel in a sense meaningless, because what's the difference between being shot with chaos bolt gun versus chaos bolt gun with psychic keyword? It really it really just didn't feel any different. Yeah, no, I would agree. Would you want it to go back to like a full psychic phase, or would you like wrap it into the command phase? Or
No, I've actually thought about this. I would want them to crib the way Age of Sigmar does it, where essentially spells or like prayers, though they can have different mechanics, they just go off in whatever phase makes sense for them to go off in.
Oh, you
So
mean like a
if
game system that embraces the fact that it's a narrative?
yeah, so like for example, I haven't played Age of Sigmar, but I have my Cities of Sigmar army that's slowly, steadily getting painted.
Sure.
Let me just read off. Let me grab one of their abilities. Yeah, so like for example, one of the spells that Cities of Sigmar have is Speed of the Twin-Tailed Comet. So in Hero Phase, which is the equivalent of Command Phase,
Sure.
if you successfully cast it, you buff one of your units, and it makes it so that they do 3d6 for their charge roll. But, for example, a Zappy spell might go... Or, actually, no, that one also goes off in Hero Phase.
But there are spells that'll be like in shooting phase. You can try.
Yeah, I believe it's where it's like
to put into like 40k standard. If it was like Tzeentch's Firestorm, that might be a shooting.
That
phase.
shoots off in the shooting phase.
Sure. No, I think that makes sense. Yeah, no, I like that. My first core mechanic that I was kind of thinking of is now it's. I've started with one end. Honestly, you could start with either one, but I want less specific ruin cover in the game. The fact of it is that so pretty much every official battle map is nothing but ruin cover. That's what it recommends, or that's what it's designed as. And the thing is that cover, the only real mechanic of that cover is it adds to armor save. Well, why so this is why I say you could go from either direction. Because you've added armor saves increases across the entire board constantly, in order to make ranged armies able to stop melee charges, you have to increase the AP of all the ranged attacks. So you get into this like spiral where the AP of range attacks keep going up. So melee armies suffer. So then you need to add more terrain and more cover. So then that increases. Then you need to increase AP. I'm fine if they go, like, granted, 9th edition may have had some crazy cover rules or whatever, but like I would be fine if they pulled back on the amount of cover, the amount of terrain, or they just encouraged different types of terrain, minefields, swampy terrain, anything like that.
Yeah.
And the other thing that this kind of comes into is because they've added so much terrain and the rules of terrain are symmetrical, picking a battlefield edge is now meaningless. Like, because the cover is symmetrical and there's so much of it, it doesn't matter if you're defender or attacker, as far as board edges, it doesn't matter. If it's asymmetrical, if you've just got terrain features, you've got increase to or decrease movement speed here, you've got cover here, you've got minefield there, then a roll off to see who gets what side of the board actually matters, and that's something you might actually put thought into, but it doesn't exist right now, and that kind of bugs me.
Yeah, I can see that, and having played some more like competitive games, it does kind of feel bad when it's like, well, I have exactly one place to put my long range unit.
Yeah, because you can't see anything else. You have this like one avenue of fire you have to like lock yourself into. Or it's just you feel kind of bizarre where it's like, I want to have a tank column, or I want to have this really cool battle formation, and it's like,
Or
no,
I want to play Imperial
I
Knights.
want to play Imperial. But like, yeah, but like, oh, it's like, no, my Imperial Knight has to just like crab walk his way through this like terrain feature unless I want to risk being battle shocked. Like,
Yeah.
it just, I don't know. My overall pitch would be, I'd love to see less L block cover patterns.
Yep, I can agree with that.
Yeah. Do you have a second?
I do actually.
Yeah.
I've thought it could be a couple of things. I thought like maybe something with expanding upon, but also clarifying like the keyword system.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm actually going to sit on, again, kind of cribbing from Age of Sigmar. Finally, just put morale and leadership to rest.
Mm.
I think that the scale that 40K operates at, having morale. Okay, 40K, as I understand it, has never had good morale rules
Mm.
because either it's very simulationist, like sixth edition and or seventh edition and earlier, where it's like, okay, if you lose half your remaining units, you have to make a leadership test, and if they fail, they have to run, and then they have the chance to regroup, and it just becomes a massive hassle. Or failed morale tests equate to extra dead models, similar to how Conquest Cut does it,
Sure.
which is fine, but in a relatively high lethality game with lots of ranged attacks, Conquest, I think, can get away with it because that's a primarily melee-focused game.
Sure.
So you're not usually going to lose half your stuff on the way in.
Yeah.
But I think finally get rid of morale rules, leadership. It leaves some of the fear-based stuff in an awkward spot, but I think you just split that out into more generalized debuffs, like representative of fear, like penalties to hit, or like stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'll say this kind of ties in. I'll say I kind of took it a bit in the opposite direction, where my second point was I want Battle Shock improved. But I do get your point and it is kind of a weird. It's a weird lore problem as well, because you've got, as far as morale at least, because you've got, take Necrons. It's the Necrons, a group of 10 emotionless, mindless Necron warriors lose 5 bodies, and all of a sudden 2 of them remember their past life and run away.
Yeah,
like, it's kind of weird. Or like an orc war boss whose immediate unit gets killed. That's true, but within a couple feet of him are 100 orc boys. But because his particular unit died, he runs away. Like, again, like, yeah, there are issues with it. I think the idea of battle shock, or putting it into the idea of sort of either the fatigue of battle, or even if you put it into the Necrons, like, well, it's true, this Necron warrior is still standing, like shrapnel's hit him and his body's not working properly, so there's something wrong. I think that idea is not terrible. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's been executed fairly poorly. Battle shock being sort of something which you just, it gets applied, but then it kind of gets auto-passed in 90% of cases.
and
The fact that
usually the way that it gets applied doesn't actually help with scoring, just because the timing of most of the abilities are off.
Totally.
So.
And also it also doesn't, you don't really feel as much of an impact. You go, okay, I don't have OC, true. I also don't have stratagems on it. Again, true. But unless I'm, like, if I'm a hyper elite army, like Knights, if I've only got 4 units that can hold objectives, that really hurts. If I'm Space Marines at this point, it hurts me to say, because I can bring like 100 models at this point. It barely hurts me at all, and instead it's like, all right, I can't hold it with this unit. Okay, I'll throw my other unit onto the objective. It's no big deal. So I think if they made, I think if they made Battle Shock a bigger deal, or they made it something where, for example, there was never an auto pass. Maybe that would slow the game down with too many morale rules. I do get your point. Maybe it's just not a good system for a morale system at all. And you could maybe try to finagle that. Like, you've got, like, Commissar's big thing has always been, if you fail a morale test, you execute a model. There could probably be a creative workaround instead.
Execute a model. The unit in question ignores all penalties. That's a letter applied to them.
Perfect.
Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, it's to remove potential debuff, or to remove effects of a psionic attack or something like that. Yeah. No, I think it's
I get it. It's an iconic thing, but I also feel like they've never really been able to settle on morale rules that work in a game this scale.
Sure. No, that makes sense. Yeah, well, so the next thing I kind of wanted to just go over was if, so we've both got 3 factions that we've kind of touched on or played. For you don't have a full Knights army, but you have brought Knights, and you've put a lot of work into Knights, and Tau as well. So we've both got several armies, so I kind of wanted to just walk through the armies and kind of go, did we have any hopes for them for their army rule?
Next edition? Okay.
Do we have a detachment rule we'd love to see? Do we have any like changes to key models or famous ones? For starters, for the World Eaters, I would like the Blessings of Khorne army rule gone. I really don't like it.
That's fair.
I get there's a principle at the heart of it, which is you don't know. The Chaos Gods are fickle. They can give you all of their attention 1 second and then none of it the next second. That's true, and it is somewhat lore accurate. The problem is that when dealing with Khorne, there is this idea of, very often in the books, there's this idea of ever-growing attention, where the more you fight, the more there's death, the more a battlefield is bloody, the more his attention is being focused in, and it's not this, like, maybe it's there, maybe it's not, haha. And so, honestly, I've gone through some previous editions. To this day, I think my favorite army rule that I've ever actually seen is still Blood Tithe from 9th edition Codex for World Eaters.
Very thematic.
It's very thematic. It's very... It was also very... Now, to a degree, it kind of got a bit crazy, but you could build it in a very tame way. It also didn't penalize you for facing hyper elite armies like Knights, because you got extra points if you took down a major titanic target. Or it also benefited you if you died, which was, Khorne cares not, which is the whole point. And so I think if you wanted to balance it, you could lower some of the, you could either raise the amount of Blood Tithe points you needed to access certain buffs or nerf certain buffs.
Okay.
And the Games Workshop wouldn't even have to change the Blessings of Khorne list of abilities. You could just take that and assign them Blood Tithe point values. I think it's the best World Eaters army rule that I've ever seen. That would be, as far as kind of like a detachment idea, the thing that really, the thing that currently bugs me with World Eaters is that with the way that they design detachments, there's really 2 detachments where berserkers are a thing. And in every other detachment, they're really not worth a damn. Because they've basically, if you look at like the stats of a berserker and a assault intercessor, they're basically the exact same stats. Basically. And that to me is a problem. Like if they are Space Marines, but infused by the Lord of Strength and Murder and physical combat, and they're the same strength as just the next Space Marine, that's a problem. And so they have detachments which kind of give this buff that makes them impressive again, but I don't really like that. So ideally speaking, I would actually want them to just buff berserkers. I'm fine with them increasing the points cost. I want them to increase the points cost, but I want stronger berserkers. I'm fine with it being a more elite army as a result, but instead, I would prefer like detachment rules that don't. I don't want one detachment rule that says this is the berserker detachment and all the rest of the detachments are stupid. It could be. I'm fine with detachment rules that can affect infantry or incur. Let's say berserkers are really helped by this one, but they're also usable in this one, and they're also nice in this one because it's not a huge army range either for world eaters. But something like you get to advance and charge, but to separate them from the white scars or something like that, which it's like always advance and charge, it's you can only advance and charge towards the closest possible target to kind of have this this like, you know, the blood fury goes over their eyes. Or I'd love a mechanic where they actually relied on the butcher's nails as a thing rather than just sort of having flavor text. Yeah, little things like that, basically, that I'd love to see the berserkers as an actual thing. I'd love to see detachments that aren't sort of like, here's a detachment to make your berserkers feel like berserkers because they don't normally. Yeah, that's sort of my general take on world eaters, what I'd like to see, what I'd prefer as far as army setup.
Mm-hmm. Fair. Okay. I guess I'll share some thoughts on Necrons then. I think I mostly like having reanimation protocols work the way they currently do.
Mm.
I think it's simple,
Mm.
but pretty, uh, thematic to how it's supposed to work, and I like that there are a number of ways to interact with it.
Mm.
Buffing it with certain units, triggering it out of phase, stuff like that.
Mm.
That I like. So I think the core of Necrons is pretty good.
Mm.
What I might like for a change, just a bit of a change, is please, for the love of all that's holy, give me a Trazen detachment. Give me a new Trazen mini. Give me a Trazen detachment that lets me bring like a tiny token number of units from other armies. So Trazen can just go, random Imperial Guard squad, go!
Just that would be so much fun.
It wouldn't even need to be good, but just an attachment that's like, you must have Trazen in your army. You may pick up to 500 points worth of battle line units from any other faction that
That's
is not
awesome.
Chaos or Nids or something.
That's awesome. Oh, heck, throw a Nid out there. Why not?
I mean, I guess canonically he did cause a Gene Stealer infestation at one point, but
Oh, man. Yeah, no, that'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. I will say, so I was, I think, I can say this. The video of our second competitive game will come out before this one. And
yeah.
I was thinking about it, and the thing that, like, thinking about the Necrons, it is a bit of a weird problem that to make Catan feel like they should, they can't really be balanced.
Yeah, I probably should have said something about Catan, but to be fair,
but it's kind of hard to say because the Catans are really cool models. It's really cool to see them on the tabletop, but it is also just kind of weird to have these just like, oh yeah, this is a 300-point model. The same cost of like 2 Lehman Russ tanks. What's the difference? Oh, you've got 2 effectively like World War II style tanks, and then a shard of a god that can like rip a world apart. Same point value.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. No, I think that sounds fun. I'll say I can kind of breeze through Imperial Guard pretty quickly because I basically only have 2 things. One, this is kind of a cheat because it's more of like a whole game mechanic that I would like back. But if nothing else than just for Imperial Guard, I want the cost of weapon upgrades back, please. Because at this point, there are like 9 different Lehman Russ tank variants with their own stat blocks, which are almost exactly the same, and their own unique unit rule. That's why this game is getting impossible to balance. If you gave me one Lehman Russ chassis with one unit rule, which you wouldn't have to compare to every other unit in the game to see if it was balanced, and just give me like, here, Lehman Russ battle cannon, it's the basic cost. Oh, you want the plasma executioner? Pay an extra 30 points, please. Like, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. And the only other thing I'll say, and this is as far as like fun detachment ideas, the one that I would love to see, and it's actually taken from a stratagem in the current Imperial Guard Codex. There's a stratagem in the kind of like Krieg themed detachment, barely Krieg themed, but called Callus.
Also, rip Armageddon Steel Legion.
Yeah, saw that. Yeah, oh, I guess they were all sacrificed to bring back old Baelai.
Yeah.
just
The Steel Legion died so that Krieg models could be made in plastic.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Also, Rip Vostroyan.
Yeah.
I would have actually collected Guard if they still had models.
Yeah, I basically want, because I want to make Callus Sacrifice, the stratagem, an actual detachment ability. Which is, so Callus Sacrifice is a stratagem, I think it's only 1 CP, but basically it's, if your guard unit, if one of your guard infantry units has charged an enemy, normally you as the Imperial Guard player can no longer shoot that enemy. They're engaged in combat. Callus Sacrifice says you can, but for every wound you do to the enemy, there's a chance one of your guards gets shot. And it's the Callus Sacrifice. It's hold them down while we bombard them with artillery. I want that as a full detachment ability. I want just the guards to rush and it's just like, hold back, as the like Chaos Knight is marching forward and they're just like jumping on his legs going like, we'll hold him down, as the Lehman Russ are firing. I want that as a detachment ability. It would be such a fun detachment. Oh, man. Well, how about AdMech? How are they doing?
So, I would say in terms of overall, like, power level and being able to play the game, they're in a better place, but the fact it took this long to get there, I think speaks to how flawed their incarnation is this edition.
Yeah.
I think it's tough because Admech has always been a very finicky army. That's kind of their identity, is being the weird finicky army that has a bunch of different buffs they play with. But I think what I would like, if there was a rework, would be, at least thematically, a return to the concept of data tether. Where basically, what I found really cool in Ninth is the idea that you were basically sending buffs through a network. That you had certain units that were tagged as data tether. Basically, Wi-Fi hotspots.
Yeah.
Which would let them set their unit and those around them act as a target for buffs. Like, a huge number of the AdMech 9th edition, like, character traits you could add were something to the effect of, this unit can provide this buff to themselves, their own unit, someone close by to them, or any other unit with data tether. So, like, the data uplink for Skitarii was useful because it turned them into little, like, broadband repeaters, where you could be like, oh, I can have this random character on the other side of the map give their fights first buff to my Sicarians that are all the way over here when they need it.
Sure.
So I think, honestly, having the core rule for AdMech being something more similar to the Halo Screed detachment, where it's like, here is a list of buffs. You may pick X many of them per turn to hand out. And then maybe something kind of similar to Guard Orders, where it's like, which may make them too similar to Guard, I don't know, but...
Well, I think the thing in Ninth is they were really similar to NIDS, because NIDS had the hive mind links that you could like
Yeah,
link
yeah.
psychic powers
But
through.
granted, AdMech buffs in ninth were one use only.
Fair, very fair.
So
Yeah, I think in 10th, I guess the idea to try to differentiate them was the data tethers were all linked to battle line. And so that's why, like, if you're near battle line, you get buff, or like the battle line units are the like little Wi-Fi hotspots that are just making everything's like
yeah,
connection better. Um, would you keep any element of that, like the battle line specific, or would you just
I would
scrap that?
reverse it. It should be the other way around. If they
Mm,
kept something similar to this, it should be characters are giving out the buff. The tech priests are programming the Skitarii with the skills they
hmm.
need.
Yeah, I agree. I think that makes a lot of sense. Would you, in your image of AdMech, this is something I've actually wondered about. In your image of AdMech, because it's 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 kind of weird based off the book. So whenever AdMech, and I haven't read a ton of AdMech books, I'll be honest, but whenever I have seen them in the books, there's usually like these hordes and hordes and hordes and hordes of Skitarii and servitors and all this stuff, and then pretty much never are there any tech priests on the field. There's like one, but the rest of them are in their like little
Yeah,
mansion going like, this is not going well. So in your mind, would you prefer, I guess, the army idea being that you have a tech priest on the field, or in your mind do you have, as a AdMech army, a congregation of tech priests, or like a community of tech priests on the field, like
I
chanting
think
together?
that in terms of healthy game balance, actually having tech priests giving out different buffs on the field is what I
Mm,
would prefer. Because, yes, in the lore, a lot of the time, tech priests will just be sitting up in their ship, downloading, stuff into Skitarii.
sure.
But I feel like there's enough times in the books, especially when you have, like, tech priests, Domini kind of
Mm,
stuff, the more, like, hands-on battlefield commander tech
sure.
priests. Call, it really depends. Honestly, in the books, most of the time, he's off doing whatever science thing needs to happen to save the day,
Yeah.
and leaving poor Alpha Primus to go and sort. Do you know really about Alpha
I
Primus?
do. I do know about Alpha Primus. It's very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
I would
think,
actually
yeah.
highly recommend reading the different the I think it's two or three now. Yeah, three now call books, where it's the Great Work, Gene Father,
Mm.
and I'm forgetting the name of the third one, but it's very good. Call is just such a fun character.
I'm currently, I think I'm about 2/3. I think about a half or 2/3 about the way through Infinite and the Divine. So
Oh,
I am
wonderful.
starting to get into the non Space Marine specific books after
Please,
like 80 Horus Heresy books of nothing but bolter fire
space
going everywhere.
best friends.
Space Marines. Yeah, no, I'm interested. Yeah, I will say, for some reason it never clicked in my head. I had in my head the Necrons being living liquid metal, but not robots. It's a
Mm.
weird thing in my head that I was like, oh,
But
they're just
TT 2000,
like, yeah,
like
like
the
sort of like, yeah, where it's like they're not. It's not them going like, oh, I'm running diagnostic protocols upon myself, and I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense. I never, huh? Interesting.
no, yeah, living metal is basically like eldritch nanomachines, as I understand it, where
Nanomachines,
it's like,
son.
yeah, where it's like,
Nice.
but yeah, that's just such a fun book.
It is. All right. Yeah. So the last one I've got is, technically I've played like a combat patrol level chaos space marine, so that totally doesn't count in my book. So
Yeah,
as far as space marines go, um, the biggest thing for me is, so the game right now, my other top contender, by the way, for core rules I would like to see changed is feel no pain. And the reason for it, and this leads into what I'm going to say about Space Marines, is the game right now is really long. It's really, really long. Like, I still like the 40K models, the 40K. I like the 40K game. It's not the best game system, but I like it. The ease, I barely know the Infinity tabletop game rule set. I barely have scratched the surface of all the combinations of things that can go into it. We can still do an Infinity game in hour and a half, 2 hours tops.
Yep, and that's with us barely knowing the N5 rules.
And that's us barely knowing the rules.
We're still doing fire teams wrong, by the way.
Oh, are we? Well, we'll have to learn. But that's the thing, right? Is that we barely know the rules. We have to refer back to the instruction manual every 2 minutes, and we're still under 2 hours for that game. And then you look at, I'm trying to script out or set out times to play or record a 40K battle report with you, and it's 5 hours minimum or something like that.
Yeah.
And so
we both have full-time jobs. We don't get back home until
the reason I bring this up with Space Marines is, in 9th edition it was the case, and in 10th edition it was the case as far as I'm concerned, which is Space Marines are still the faction of rerolls. And not only are rerolls ludicrously powerful, but they also just slow the game down endlessly.
It's true.
Again, I was editing the competitive game. The only reason the Void Dragon died in the second round was because I had 2 rounds of endlessly re-rolling las cannon dice against it. There were so many las cannon shots I failed on the first roll. It clearly would have survived. There's no chance I would have brought it down in the first 2 turns. And not only that, but it's these endless rerolls, not just because it's not just, oh, I reroll once. No. It's I reroll. Now I have to sit here and think, do I reroll everything and fish for 6s for exploding hits? Or do I just reroll the shots that missed? And then I sit there and I think about it. And then it's, oh, well, I'm going to shoot Overwatch. Well, no. I'm not just going to shoot Overwatch. I'm going to shoot Overwatch while I can reroll because I have some thing that lets me reroll. And it's not just, I roll the dice, that's just it, move on with the game. It's, I'm going to roll the dice, then I'm going to sit there and think about it. And then I'm going to use the CP and re-roll, and then I'm going to sit there and think about it. And it's just, there are, as far as I'm concerned, so at its very core, what a re-roll is designed to do is, here's my unit. It's supposed to be good at this thing. Re-rolling makes it more likely to be good at it. I understand that. It's also a lazy ability. It just is. It's these quick and easy fix to make you great at something. And I mean, as a player of Space Marines, not gonna lie, it makes me feel like my army's pretty good. But I actually don't want that. I don't want to feel like I just, not only is my army the reason the game is so long, because every other faction now has to be capable of surviving my rerolls, which makes their powers start to go absolutely ballistic. But I also don't want, if I win a game, the games that we've played, I prefer if I win feeling like I made the crucial tactical choice at the right time. I remember there was this one game, it came right down to the wire, and if I scored defend stronghold or something like that, I was going to win. And you had one group of Necrons with the attached character that you had the ability, if you shot, you could make a normal move, and you just got a toe onto my objective with this tiny movement, and it it ended up costing me the game. And I'm fine losing a game like that. If it's this great tactical play that you don't see coming, I love that. But if it's just I win because I reroll and I reroll the rerolls until I get the sixes and then I win, it's not fun and it just takes so long. I want the reroll. I want the Oath of Moment gone, please. I don't actually like it.
You want your tactics back?
I want my tactics back, man. I want squad tactics. I want tactical squads. I don't want the Imperial Guard gun line of bolter fire that gets free rerolls on everything and double shots with intercessors because we needed to sell more intercessor models. I just like I want the tactics. I want the tactical aspect. This is a tactical game. Let it be tactical. Sorry, that's my rant for today.
Fair.
So anyway, any last thoughts to Knights, Tau, anything like that you've seen?
Haven't really played Tau, so I can't really, outside of just vaguely keeping up with some changes to them. I think that I think that overall, for the greater good is a pretty decent army ability and concept, though it definitely has needed some work and edits to function as intended and to not basically lose half of the effectiveness of your army. I think it's another army that definitely could benefit from war gear costs coming back, just because it's like they've had to do the thing that they did with the Lehman Russ tanks, where its crisis suits are now 3 data slates or data.
I think there's 3 different ones plus the commanders with
plus the
crisis
commanders
suits,
plus all the character battle
plus all
suits,
the character battle suits and all of those. Yeah.
And it means that there's never any reason to not take the railgun or like whatever, just like or like the ion on the Riptide. So
yeah. I to my knowledge, the biggest issue with Knights at the moment, again, I don't play Knights, so very peripheral. Man, I can't talk.
The periphery, I can talk about BattleTech if you want. Do you want to know about the wars of reunification?
But I think one of the bigger things, and this is a weird thing, but in an edition where they always seem to be ramping up the toughness of things, Knight's toughness dropped, and I'm kind of hoping they push that back up a little bit because at the moment it seems a little too low to me. But I mean, Knights are always going to be hard to balance. It's a hyper elite army in a.
It's similar to adding aircraft to the game. It's one of those things where very cool idea, and I love Imperial Knights, but it is such a difficult thing to balance.
It is, and I guess it's the same. Like it's the Catan thing. How do you balance that and make it feel really cool while also being fair? Yeah, no, I think that's all fair. Any final hopes for 11th edition?
For all of the armies with half a range of models to actually get the rest of their stuff.
Yeah, there we go.
World Eaters get the rest of their stuff. Voton some more stuff. Emperor's Children get the rest of their range. Grey Knights get a range refresh, please, or something.
So that it's not just the Grey Knights, the greatest of the Emperor's warriors, come to help, and they're as small as Imperial Guardsmen.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that I kind of hope they lean back into, and I think it's something that, at least my image of it, my look at it, seems to be a little bit missing, is the grimdark of it is still in the flavor text, but I don't see a lot of it on the tabletop as much. Things like Callous Sacrifice, it's a very cool thing. I want more abilities like that kind of make it feel like it's one of the books. And I understand it's in my imagination. It's different than a tabletop game, sure. But really using the kind of creative rules that lean into the grimdark of it, the kind of polished intercessor gun line looks a lot more noble than the scrappy tactical squad of Space Marines with like the flamer that's committing war crimes. And so I don't know, just little things like that to kind of make the separation between the books and the actual table feel a little smaller. I'd prefer, but oh well. So there we go. Those are thoughts on 40K.